Live from our studios here in Kokomlemle, also on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125. This is Joy News Prime. I am Emefa Apawu. Up in the next hour, Ghana's Supreme Court rules that the presidency does not have the right to ask an Auditor General to proceed on leave. Details as it describes the 2020 directive asking the former Auditor General to proceed on leave as unconstitutional. We'll hear from the former Auditor General, Daniel Domelevo, who says he has been vindicated.
I'm very happy that the highest law enforcement body, or the Supreme Court of the state, have taken the same position as the view that I held. I am happy with that.
We have more from the Apex Court as it declares as unconstitutional the law that allowed the government to impose restrictions during the COVID-19 pandemic. And also this evening, 87 miners who illegally entered a shaft of AngloGold Obuasi mines finally exit the pit after hours of persuasion. We'll bring you details as Obuasi East District Security Council hand them to the police. Plus, a year after destruction for gold documentary, illegal miners have taken over River Tano in a renewed onslaught on the already polluted major water source despite a recent crackdown on irresponsible mining. Also later, the National Communications Authority gives conditional extension of the announced mass blocking of unregistered SIM cards. Stay for details. This is Joy News Prime. We settle for details now, and the Supreme Court has taken on the presidency, describing its 2020 directive, which effectively resulted in removal of Daniel Domelevo from office as unconstitutional. The court also described as unconstitutional the president's appointment of an acting Auditor General, while there was a substantive Auditor General as equally unconstitutional. The presidency in July 2020 asked the then Auditor General Daniel Domelevo to proceed on leave. 9 civil society groups sued the Attorney General over these directives, insisting such powers cannot be exercised over an independent body. The court upheld this argument. Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akable has more.
The Auditor General was probing key government contracts when he was asked to proceed on leave. This included a controversial Kroll & Associates contract involving the senior minister.
Yoko should go to PPA and find out why did they ratify it. I don't see why they are on the back of my staff. For the past 2 or 3 weeks, they've invited my deputies and several officers. I think it's one of the intimidating principles or approaches being used. But then I want to assure them that they can come and jail me. We will not stop doing what we are doing. I've said it time and again that I don't fear any attack on my office. And I'm not alone anyway. Let me share with you for you to know that it is usually the fate of Auditors General. I have a cartoon from the Auditor General in Kenya where he's sitting on his seat and people are cutting so to remove him, and they say they can't figure out how to do this. I have several other examples where I don't want to mention the name of this, but the president has almost put a ban on the Auditor General, because the Auditor General is exposing him too much.
In another African country?
Another African country. So it is all over. The independence of the Auditor General.
Mr. Domelevo insisted the directive was unlawful. The presidency further extended the leave from 123 days to 167. This effectively meant the Auditor General was never coming back, since by the time the days elapsed, he would have been due for retirement. 9 civil society organizations, including the CDD Ghana, took the matter to the Supreme Court. They contended that the directives were unlawful since the president does not have the power to exercise such disciplinary control over independent bodies. The Apex Court agreed with this view. In a unanimous decision, it described as unconstitutional the directive from the presidency that asked Mr. Domelevo to proceed on leave. The court also said it was unconstitutional for the president to appoint an acting Auditor General while there was a substantive Auditor General. It, however, opted not to issue any other orders since the Auditor General had already proceeded on leave and retired.
Well, the former Auditor General, Daniel Domelevo, has been reacting. He says he feels vindicated.
I'm sad that the office of the president, which is the highest office of the state, is the one who is at the forefront of doing unconstitutional things or breaching the constitution of the country. And I will advise that going forward, that office should respect the constitution and the laws of the country. But I'm also happy that the verdict has finally come, and it confirms or vindicates my position that the office of the president were not doing the right thing. And if you remember what the secretary to the president wrote to me, he said, because I'm not a lawyer, I may not appreciate the issues in there. I'm very happy that the highest law enforcement body, or the Supreme Court of the state, have taken the same position as the view that I held. I am happy with that. But thirdly, which is my biggest satisfaction, is the fact that my view is that going forward, never again will the sitting president or an incoming president decide to visit such unconstitutional behavior on any office, independent office holder or auditor general so duly appointed.
We'll stay a while longer at the Apex Court because in a unanimous decision, they've declared as unconstitutional the law that allowed government to impose restrictions during the COVID-19 pandemic. Parliament in 2020 passed the Imposition of Restrictions Act, which allowed the president to restrict public gatherings, shut down schools and impose measures to guide religious gatherings, among others. Law professor and human rights advocate Kwadwo Mensa, along with 8 others, dragged government to the Supreme Court, contending the said law was unconstitutional. The court agreed with this view. Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akabley once again with this report.
So the case filed by Sir Kwadwo Mensa raised concerns about the process that had been used by the government to impose restrictions. He had made a point that they should have acted under Article 21 to impose those restrictions. That part of Ghana's constitution allows restrictions to be imposed in the interest of public health and safety and crisis where necessary. But Professor Etua took the view that using Article 21 amounted to suspending fundamental human rights in a manner that he considered unlawful. He took the view that it was important that government should have sought to control the COVID-19 pandemic by using emergency powers which were allowed under Article 31 of the Constitution. This provides an elaborate procedure for such restrictions to be imposed, including the presidency consulting the Council of State, as well as going through various steps to outline those measures. The court agreed with his views and declared as unconstitutional the Impositions of Restrictions Act and proceeded to strike out that law as unconstitutional, null and void and of no effect. Professor Etua says he's delighted by this decision.
The decision means that the law which was passed in the first place was illegal. It was unconstitutional. It shouldn't have been passed because there were sufficient provisions in the Constitution to direct how the emergency should have been organized. We also made reference to the Public Health Act, which also gives an idea of how emergency should be organized in case there's a public health emergency in the country. And so that is what the court decided for us.
But we know that the president over the weekend announced that he had lifted the restrictions. I guess it means that they will not be able to, in the event they want to utilize the law that allowed them to issue those EI, they will not be able to do so anymore.
No, they will not be able to do so. But the case had come up earlier, before the president made the announcement last week. And that announcement alone also wasn't enough because the restrictions came by a law. And so they are not, the president just making a statement does not change the law. And so we are glad that the Supreme Court itself has pronounced that the law is illegal, is unconstitutional, it shouldn't have been enacted in the first place.
We know that government has since announced that the COVID restrictions are lifted, but the law Imposition of Restriction Act is no longer a lawful tool because of the decision of the court. So it will mean that in the event they want to issue any executive instrument on the basis of that particular law, they would have to go to Parliament and have the law passed, or perhaps use the Article 31 emergency procedure that the Supreme Court spoke about on Wednesday. For joining news from the Supreme Court on this particular matter, my name is Joseph Akabley.
Now let's turn our attention to politics and who represents the new Patriotic Party in the Eastern North constituency as the party opens nominations for 48 hours. The steering committee in a statement said the party agreed to hold internal elections on 7th June. Ahead of that, the party agreed to open nominations from Wednesday, May 31 to Thursday, June 1. With less than 24 hours to the deadline, we understand 2 people have already expressed interest in representing the party in the Eastern North constituency. Now, even before that, the National Youth Wing of the party has declared its readiness to storm the Eastern North constituency for the upcoming by-election. Salam Mustafa speaks for the National Youth Wing of the party.
Last week, the NPP, under the leadership of Chairman Stephen Intim and General Secretary Justin Kodia Frimpong, chalked a massive victory in the Kumewu by-election to retain the seat for the party. We want to sincerely thank the good people of the Kumewu constituency for believing in us and doing us the honor. The National Youth Wing would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the MP-elect Honorable Ernest Yawinim on his election. He is a humble 38-year-old man who falls within our wing, and we know he will serve his people with dignity. Very soon, there will be another by-election in the Eastern North constituency. We are ready for it. This past weekend, I was in the constituency and I was amazed at the level of development that this government has undertaken there. Superb first-class roads, beautiful astroturf, water projects, schools, just to mention but a few. We are going to Eastern North, and let me make a bold declaration that we are going to win it. We are going to win it hands down, just like we did in the Kumewu by-election. About a month ago, the National Youth Wing, under my leadership, took to the road and toured all 16 regions of the country. We did so with a firm belief that horses and chariots are prepared ahead of battles, and every good army will not relent or joke around its preparation ahead of D-Day.
We know that at least 2 people have already expressed interest since the party opened nominations for aspirants to file for the Eastern North seat. That's the NPP I'm talking about. Let's bring in the Director of Elections of the party, Evans Nimako, joining us via Zoom. Many thanks for your company, Mr. Nimako. So at the last count, we know that before I came on air, it was 2. Has that figure changed?
Hello. Thank you for having me, Emefa. And viewers. What I will say is that the party is ready with open nomination per the directives of the National Steering Committee. We will bring the process to an end tomorrow. That will mean that vetting closes to sale of nomination forms closes tomorrow. We've slated the program said that by Friday, vetting will be done and all other things will then follow. You know, it's an election that will elect for us the parliamentary candidates. And so we will extend invitation to the Electoral Commission to help us conduct the primaries on Wednesday, 7/20/23.
Okay, so I was asking if it was still 2 at the last count, 2 candidates.
Yes, at the close of today's sale of forms, which is being manned by the regional party. 2 people have declared their intention to be in the race. They are yet to be vetted. Okay. Buying the forms is one stage and going through the vetting is also another. When we are done, the party will put together all the executives in the constituency, i.e. polling station executives, electoral coordinators, as well as the constituency executive, council of elders and patron, to help the party select the person that we have to sponsor for the elections as slated by the Electoral Commission. So we are ready.
Well, I've heard your national youth organizer mention that at least this is a seat they are hoping to win hands down. We've been hearing from the Electoral Commission as well. I'll take you and give you details of what the Electoral Commission has been saying in terms of this particular by-election. But Mr. Nimaku, stay with me because we'll talk about your presidential forms also. But what kind of indication are you getting from Asin North when it comes to this particular by-election, you'd say?
Asin North constituency was carved out of Asin Central. It's a constituency that the party has always won. I mean, unfortunately, we had lost it in 2012. We got it back 2016 and gave it out again in 2020. But when you look at the presidential results, it's clear that Asin North has always been with the new Patriotic Party. And we already, as the National Youth Organizer said, spot on, the party is going to go into this by-election. Smash it. It's always been ours, the good people of Asin, will give the new Patriotic Party the mandate they've always given us.
Well, people wonder what gives you that kind of confidence and that you put out there the way you do.
You've been to the grounds and you've engaged, you've consulted key stakeholders, opinion leaders, influencers, and the kind of assurances they will give you. You come along with me that the new Patriotic Party is going to go into these elections and come out victorious.
Okay, let's check out the EC statement. Stay with me, Mr. Nimako. So the Electoral Commission in the last few minutes have issued a statement on the Asin North Constituency parliamentary by-election, and it says the Electoral Commission wishes to inform the general public that following the Supreme Court ruling on Wednesday, 17 May 2023, to the effect that the election of Mr. James Gyakye as Member of Parliament for the Asin North Constituency was unconstitutional, null and void, and of no legal effect, the seat of the constituency in Parliament has become vacant. In accordance with Article 1125 of the Constitution, as amended, the Electoral Commission will hold a by-election in the Asin North constituency, and the date has been put there, Tuesday, the 27th of June, 2023. Accordingly, the Commission will receive nominations from prospective candidates for the election of a Member of Parliament for the said constituency. The nominations will be received at the Asin North District Office of the Commission from Monday, the 12th of June 2023 to Wednesday, the 14th of June 2023, between the hours of 9 and midday, and also between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. each day. So it tells what interested candidates are supposed to do. They are required to download the nomination forms from the Commission's website from the 1st of June, which is tomorrow, and a prospective candidate may personally deliver or cause to be delivered on his or her behalf by either the proposer or seconder of his or her nomination the completed nomination forms to the returning officer at the Asin North District Office of the Commission on the dates and times stated above. So that's the EC's statement that has just been released. 27th June is the day for this particular by-election at Asin North, and people are supposed to start picking nominations from tomorrow. But I see that, Mr. Nimako, you are hoping to do this in terms of your primaries on the 7th of June, and this is supposed to be happening on the 27th of June. Does it give you enough time for you to do this? At least the NDC maintains that the Asin North candidates will still be James Gyakye. It gives them a head start ahead of you, doesn't it?
It doesn't at all. I mean, if the NDC want to repeat Mr. Gyakye, that is their own cup of tea. But for us, as far back as July 28, 2021, the High Court of Cape Coast had ruled that Mr. Gyakye was unqualified. He lied, he forged documents to be part of that election, and therefore that election was declared null and void. It was confirmed by the Supreme Court when the justices said that as of the time he contested that election, he was not qualified.
But all rights, all wrongs have been corrected, don't you think so? The party must know something that you do not know, for which reason they are still fielding him.
I don't think the people of Asin North will want to go along with somebody who has difficulty addressing what is the truth. Somebody who lied before the law. I don't know whether that is the kind of person the good people of Asin will want to go along with. If the NDC want to repeat him and think that they are ahead of us, they will be tickling themselves and be laughing in darkness, and nobody will be seeing that. But for me, I can assure you that you go into the elections, the good people of Asin North will honor the new Patriotic Party for the seat once again. You can look at the results in terms of presidential. You will see that definitely this is a constituency that has always been with the new Patriotic Party.
Okay.
We are not.
Well, away from Asin North, just briefly, before I let you off, we know that at the last count also we have 8 presidential aspirants picking nomination forms. Am I correct with the last figure, and are you expecting more?
Yeah, the presidential primaries was open last Friday, 26th. It's expected to run for a month, and so it's ending on 24th of June next month. So far, as you said, 8 people have been courageous enough and said that they want to put themselves out there to be part of the process of becoming the presidential candidate. Picking the form is one bit. There will be vetting by the vetting committee, which is also the elections committee. It is after that process, which will be between 26th and 30th of next month. It is at that process that we will see those who will be allowed by the party to be in the race. I mean, this is a contest that is going to give to us the presidential candidate who is most likely to be the president of Ghana. So it's a very serious business. Arrangement put in place has been so transparent from the very moment the National Council, National Executive Committee gave the directive. The General Secretary issued a statement indicating the timelines. I think this same, and so it is clear, it is very open, and all those who have come to the party headquarters at Kokomlemi, Asalam, that have procured their forms, and all instructions are being carried out perfectly. And I can tell you that we are also in the process once again to elect our presidential candidate to become the president.
We'll definitely be interacting soon again, because we know that this is the season, so we'll definitely be interacting again with you, Mr. Nimako. But that's all time will allow us for now. Thank you so much for your company this evening. That's Evans Nimako, who is the Director of Elections for the NPP. We've been talking about the number of aspirants who have picked up nomination forms to contest the flag bearer slot of the NPP, and the number is at 8. And the 8th was Alan Kwadwo Mensa, and some market queens mobilized their resources, we are told, to pick the nomination forms for the former Trades and Industry Minister. Yes, what transpired?
The picking of the nomination forms by the market queens is a fulfillment of their pledge that they made to the former Trades and Industry Minister, Mr. Alan Chemantin. Their pledge was that if the MPP opens nominations for the presidential race, they would gather resources to pick the forms on his behalf. And that is what exactly they have done today.
Na ya papa de obi ani tua se ono de ne de edwade fo ma de oni ho agro na Ghana ha bibia so bekọ ye edwade e first sa man we se edwade nim kura nka entim nko ye nim sei eti se da oba ya wo se ma edwade aye fe na sai unique no ama ye ni age ho papa.
After picking the nomination forms, the group moved to his office to present the nomination forms to him. In response, Mr. Alan Chemantin said is ready to take up the mantle and contest the race, while calling on them to have faith in him.
That I'm grateful to you for. First, you made a promise to me that when the time and the opportunity arises and nominations open for those of us who are interested in contesting for the leadership of our party, that you would gather your members and make a contribution to support me in picking the nomination forms. This is exactly what you've done. You fulfilled your promise, and I'm very grateful to you. Secondly, I listened to your very profound words of wisdom when you were asked to say a few words at the party headquarters.
Mr. Alan Shemantin is the 8th person to pick the nomination forms in the NPP presidential race. Meanwhile, the party says it expects about 9 of them and still opens to all qualified members who have interest in the contest. Reporting for Joy News, Samuel Mbura, Accra.
Away from politics now, and a year after Destruction for Gold documentary, illegal miners have taken over the River Tano in a renewed onslaught on the already polluted major water source, despite a recent crackdown on irresponsible mining close to Samraboy in the western region. The Environmental Protection Agency reviews disturbing levels of mercury concentration in the river at the Samraboy catchpoint. Lava Firm's Erastus Asaredonko is back to Samraboy a year after he exposed illegal activities polluting the River Tano. Here's what he found.
Love News in 2022 captured Akunta Mining Limited and other illegal miners polluting the Tano River at Samraboy in the western region. We uncovered irresponsible mining polluting the Tano at various points in communities like Atala, Uhiampedika, and Datano sections of the river. A year after producing the Destruction for Gold documentary, we went back to Samraboy to gauge the situation on the ground. The miners have abandoned posts and left behind deep pits and gullies they created along the Tano River. Ofosua Sare Samuel is the assembly member for the Mumuni electoral area.
After your last documentary, those that they were in operation, they left the community or they left the site. They are no more here or destroying the land.
But our tour of the adjoining villages along the Tano revealed disturbing pictures of direct active mining in the Tano River with residues directed into the Tano. Champagne operators and illegal miners currently sit on the river at various points. These Chinese miners were spotted at Boya, a farming community, driving the excavators and operating the mine themselves, contrary to mining regulations.
This is purely illegal. There is no buffer between the Tano River and what they are doing. And if you see in the distance, there is a washing bay sitting at the edge of the tunnel, washing directly into the river. This is purely criminal.
Close to the airstrip at Samraboy, these 2 Chinese nationals were found operating this mine, which seems to be violating the government's buffer zone policy for mining close to major water bodies like the Tano River. They told me the site belongs to Akunta Mining Limited.
You go drop me Bojo. This side, the Akunta people. Yeah.
Officials of Akunta Mining will not respond to the claims. The devastated Atala, Ohiampenika and Datano lands fall into the concession of Unipar Mining Company Limited. But even before Unipar could complete its licensing processes to start mining, large parts of its concession have been invaded by illegal miners. David Thompson is Corporate Affairs Manager.
Whilst we acquired it over a period of time, illegal miners started to come onto the concession. We tried to engage them in a cordial manner to try and say, hey gentlemen, this is illegal mining. We didn't really get too far in that negotiation. Therefore, we informed the Mineral Commission. So we engaged the military to remove them. They were removed, and then subsequently they've started to come back again.
David speaks of the dangers of mining in the River Tano, calling for urgent steps to control the practice.
Any activity on any of the rivers, straight away it's like, surely people, please, this is going nowhere for you. You're going to make a quick buck. How long is it going to last? but the decimation, the catastrophe that you're leaving behind is shocking. The poisons, the colours of the water, the local indigenous people who wash their clothes from that river, who are drinking and using to cook their food from that river. I mean, it's a travesty. And I really believe that should stop an awful lot of the illegal mining on the rivers immediately.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Atala, Ohiampenika, Samraboy, Western Region.
Well, let me bring in the founder of Eco-Conscious Citizens, Awula Sewa, as she joins us via Zoom. So, listening to my colleague, Erastus Asaredonko, going back just under a year after this particular documentary we produced, I'm sure you've been watching this. Really, this is shocking, isn't it?
I mean, first of all, good evening. Thank you for inviting me. This is worse than shocking. I mean, what is going on is a crime against humanity. We don't need anybody to tell us. We have the common sense to know that we are poisoning our environment, poisoning the water bodies. When you're mining, you don't mine close to the water bodies. We know, as I speak, that in the mining areas, children are being born deformed. There's a rise in kidney illness. The placenta of the women who give birth is full of the mercury and other metals. I mean, this is criminal, a crime against humanity. And what are we doing about it? It's 1 year since the documentary. No action has been taken. Professor Obuasi had a report where he's documented a lot of these things. What action is being taken? I think Ghanaians need to sit up. This is worse than people not getting their pensions. This is signing our death warrant. We need to get up and say enough is enough. We saw Akonta mining there. No action is being taken against Akonta mining for poisoning the environment. If no action is being taken against them, of course, other people are also wading in. What are Chinese nationals doing there? They are not supposed to be involved in any form of community mining in the country. And of course, this is illegal mining. So all I'll say is that if we have a government, they should take some responsibility and act yesterday, because what is happening will not be able to reverse it. We are signing our death warrants.
Okay, but the rate that we are going with this, because the media has spoken, institutions like yourself, you've been speaking, you've been crying foul about the situation, but it appears it's still the case. What really could be going wrong? Is it the case that we have to speak until we get tired and nothing happens?
Well, you see, if we do believe that we're going to all be poisoned, because if we think it's restricted to the mining areas, we need to think again. We eat fish. Where do we think the fish is coming from? We like our tubers, our yams, our plantains. Where do we think it's coming from? What land? If the land is polluted and we are growing these stuffs there, it's going to affect us. So I think what we need to do as a nation, we need to rise up. Whether we're going to go on a mass demonstration, whatever we're going to do, if we really understand, if your house is being burnt, if your house is burning, the fire service isn't coming, are you going to sit down and say, well, I called the fire service, they are not coming? You're going to take action. And this is a clear and present danger. I cannot say it enough. We need to sit up and say that if the government will not take action, we the people will take action. There is absolutely no point in building a cathedral, absolutely no point, when the environment that the good Lord has asked us to take care of, we are supervising its destruction. Let's forget about a cathedral and let's rather put our energies into preserving the environment God gave us. This is criminal. This is wicked. It is pure wickedness what is going on. We are just standing by idly whilst the environment is being destroyed. And we know who the players are. Why are we not dealing with them? Why hasn't Akonta mining been arrested as we speak? Why have not the directors been affected? If we won't arrest them and deal with them, what can we do about other people who are engaged in the same activity?
But we are told that investigations are underway. At least when you find out from authorities, that's what at least the minister and those in charge will tell you, that the investigations are underway. You cannot charge somebody if you have not found them guilty, amongst others. Really, institutions like yourself, I'm sure you've been finding out backdoor, amongst others, from these or those in authority, as in what exactly the steps and the measures they are taking. Do you get the indication that anything is happening on our blind side?
Well, if something was happening, would you have had a report sit on somebody's desk for 2 years? If anything was happening, would we have had the whole saga with Aisha Huang And right now, nobody knows what's happening to the case. If anything serious was happening, after the documentary that was done, immediate action would have been taken and will not allow the illegal miners to come back. As I keep on saying, we don't seem to appreciate the seriousness of the matter. I really don't think we do. So unless the people themselves decide that enough is enough, we need to protect ourselves. I'm not quite sure that look at the images, they are shocking. The images you are showing are shocking. What more are you supposed to do that will make us sit up? If we don't sit up now, we're not going to sit up. All the information is there. We saw Akonta mining, we saw their vehicles in the forest reserve. What more information, what more evidence do we need? What more evidence do we need? We have the evidence, just get on with it.
Okay, we're grateful. We'll leave it here for now. We'll continue to do our bit in terms of saying no to Galamsey and staying still on issues about illegal mining. We know about the Anglo Gold Ashanti situation in Obuasi, and the latest we are told is that 79 of these illegal miners who refused to come out of the mine shaft that belongs to Anglo Gold Ashanti have finally exited, and they've been handed to the police by the Obuasi East District Security Council. And the Anglo Gold Ashanti has been issuing a statement to that effect also. So they've been giving updates. They say an additional 79 unauthorized individuals safely exited the Obuasi gold mine underground yesterday. We've been hearing from the DC of the area, Madam Faustina Emisa, also providing updates on this. This is an issue that we keep on watching. My colleague Ohiming Teria is on the ground for us, and when we get more, we'll bring that to you. But I'll turn attention to the Electricity Company of Ghana now, and the outfit has busted a suspected power thief who was found to be stealing power for himself and selling same to 33 other homes in Gbetsile here in Accra. According to the Public Relations Officer of the ECG Tema region, Kwadwo Mensa, the suspect, who is currently on the run, has been collecting bills from the 33 homes over the period with the pretense of paying the money to the Electricity Company of Ghana. We'll get to hear from her shortly, but first, my colleague James Avgi joins me via Zoom with details on this matter. James, so let's talk about how the ECG arrived at this grand theft. Was it some kind of tip-off? What exactly led to this? You'd have to unmute, James.
Okay, Emefa. So I was saying that this whole drama unfolded when the team invaded Gbetsile area as part of the second phase of their revenue drive on Tuesday. Now, from what the ECG has been sharing with us, this 33 structures actually are shacks built with plywood, synonymous with structures put up in this enclave. So this suspect actually has an ECG meter mounted on his wall to suggest that he was legally connected to the grid, only for the ECG to conduct their checks to realize that he has actually bypassed the meter. And then they extended the checks and found out that he has extended power actually to the neighboring structures around him.
And he's been collecting bills from these 33 structures, at least. I don't know how many people live there, but he's been collecting bills from them, correct?
Exactly, Emefa. So the suggestion is that he used the meter mounted on his wall as a decoy to actually convince these unsuspecting customers that they need to be paying monthly bills to the ECG. So he collects bills between 30 to 50 Ghana cedis every month from the people, which never get to the ECG. We suggest that he is not only stealing power, but also defrauding these persons and making money out of the whole venture. Reason the ECG had called for his arrest.
Okay, thank you very much. That's my colleague James Avgi with details of this particular situation. Well, the Tema Region PRO, Kwadwo Mensa, joins us with details of this. So, Madam Mensa, thank you so much for joining us here on Joy News Prime. So then what happens to this particular situation?
Okay, good evening, Emefa, and thank you for having us. So this person has stolen power, and stealing is a criminal offense. ECG has the power to prosecute persons who are found stealing power. So we, in collaboration with the police, would ensure that we get this culprit. Yesterday, we left a summons at his residence, asking that he should please report to the ECG Tema regional office so that the processes can be started. But we haven't heard from him today. We hope that this person will show up. We'll work with as and when it's necessary. We are always working hand in hand with the Ghana police. So once we get him, we still have the right to prosecute where necessary. We do have that. So if it gets there, we will prosecute.
How long has this been going on? How long has this been going on?
So we discovered this yesterday as part of our field work for the revenue mobilization. So we can't exactly tell how long it's been going on. But once we get through with the investigation, so we'll be able to give a fair idea of how long he or she have been engaging in this.
We're grateful. We'll leave it here for now. This is an issue we'll continue to follow up on. This is Joy News Prime. It's a quick time. Let's take a quick break right here. We'll return with more. Please stay. You're welcome back, and it's time for the favorite part of Joy News Prime. It's Showbiz. Your girl, my girl, Becky is here. Y'all.
Yeah.
What do we have tonight?
Do you believe that Kwabna is gay?
Oh.
Because there's been conversations around
because of the outfits and all.
The outfit. Sometimes, he has, things.
He has things on his finger as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, you've never seen that?
I only saw the
but do you what's your reaction?
I don't think he's gay, but I think he needs attention.
Okay. But let's put the spotlight on Efe Grace. I don't know whether you've seen her.
She deserves the spotlight.
In the gospel industry. She's talked about her father, talked about the impacts that Ohima Mercy had on her career.
Full-time ministry, it's been like 5 years, getting to 6 years, but I started singing like when I was like 9 years. Yeah.
I mean, I was so touched when I saw your dad do this. I could see all the emotions on your face. How does that make you feel?
Oh my God. I know my father is proud. I know my daddy is proud. For him, it hasn't been easy. He's been in the music ministry for years, and to see what God is doing with me, he's a proud father. I thank God. I thank God for what he has done tonight.
I think the year under review has been so good for you. From Emmy Award stage, I saw your beautiful performance. Now you have your own concert. Is it going to be a yearly thing, or just because of the recording, that's why you did the Grace Effect?
It's going to be a yearly thing, yeah.
So right after the Grace Effect, what are we expected to see from Efe?
An album straight up. An album straight up.
How will you describe Ohima Mercy in your life?
Mommy Ohima Mercy is a blessing. It's a great blessing. I remember way back in 2017, that was when I met her, and the very first time I met her, I knew that this woman, was someone that God had blessed me with, someone that I needed to serve, and through that, God has given me so much opportunities, so much platforms. And one thing I like about Mommy Ohima Mercy is she's a very prayerful woman. I think that's what I tapped, very prayerful. Yeah, so she's a blessing.
Well, Efe Grace right there. Let's talk about Cues and Lyrics. If you haven't been following Cues and Lyrics, it's still showing on Joy Prime every Sunday at 8:30 p.m. There was an eviction, and the guy, Eudine, I hope I got the name right, Eudine has been evicted, but obviously we're taking you through his journey on the show.
Would you keep on loving me?
Little did he know this would be his last performance on Cues and Lyrics.
Would you keep bringing out the best in me?
Eugene failed to impress the judges with his rendition of Saddest Sweetest Taboo.
I feel Patapapa as you. He's a better artist than you. Vocally, you're very good, but you're sad on stage.
Unfortunately, the votes failed him too.
Eugene, the journey ends for you here today.
Eugene becomes the third contestant to drop the microphone and exit the competition. Despite his exit, he's left us with some great memories. He was among a group of 4 to win the judges' favorite prize for the first time. Eugene's performance improved as he surprised the judges with an enthralling rendition of Kamido's Sugarcane. We wish him well in his future endeavors. Meanwhile, 9 contestants are still in the game, yearning to clinch the ultimate prize. Remember, you have the power to keep your favorite contestant from eviction. Dial *711*60# to vote. Cues and lyrics. Bring on the music.
All right, Emefa, I'll just go back home and go and brush my teeth.
Yes, as always, like you do. You like the cavity fighter, don't you?
I think I prefer the charcoal.
The charcoal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. You know, it
Gives
takes
you
you
that-
back to the memory of when you
the
used the
plantain and all
plantain
that.
and charcoal.
You live with your grandmother, yeah?
Yeah, she died. You just
Dramatic Becky. So you brush with Pepsodent, cavity fighter, charcoal, and all the range.
Yeah.
And what does it do?
Every smile matters when you use Pepsodent.
And that's how we wrap up today's edition of Journey's Prime. I am Emefa Apawu, and
my name is Rebecca Danko Trenebois. That's my dad's.
Becky, you guys signing out. And there's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com.